All right. Sounds good? All right. And now I got to turn on this. All right. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaudavani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Desha Tarane Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hari Haraye Namaha Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana Hari Haraye Namaha Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana Hari Haraye Namaha Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Namaha. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hari Haraye Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda 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 Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda 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 Jaya Jaya. Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Bol. Govinda Hari, Gopala Hari, Gopala Hari, Govinda Hari. Jaya Rama Hari, Jaya Krishna Hari, Jaya Rama Hari, Jaya Krishna Hari. Jaya Jaya Deva Hari, Jaya Jaya Deva Hari. Jaya Jaya Deva Hari, Jaya Jaya Deva Hari. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajaka Stotra Satta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जाय। वृंदावन धाम की जाय, नवद्वीप धाम की जाय, भक्ति देवी की जाय, तुलसी महारानी की जाय, यमुना देवी की जाय, गंगा देवी की जाय, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Devotees of Cologne ki jai. All the devotees of Cologne ki jai. All the devotees of Cologne, my Cologne family ki jai. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That, of course, is known as the 10-syllable mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasu. Oh, 12-syllable. My mistake. Hare Krishna mantra is 32 syllables. this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, is 12 syllables. Prabhupada always began his lectures with this mantra. So we did not finish chapter 3. We left off on text number 31. This section, verses 31 through 35, I have given the subtitle, Final Lessons on Karma and Duty. Ye me matam idang nityang anutishtanti manava sradavanto nasuyanto mutyante tepi karma bi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. So just see how potent is this Bhagavad-gita. Because when you follow Bhagavad-gita, you are following Krishna's injunctions. But the key here, faith. You must be faithful to Krishna. And without envy. Because envy is the original sin. Everything started with our envy of God. And that was our original sin. Text 32. Yetu etad abasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvagyana vimudhang stan vidinashtan achetasa. But those who out of envy disregard these teachings and do not follow them are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. This same concept will again appear in chapters 9. Krishna will revisit this same idea. So those who are not devotees, they disregard Krishna's teachings. Why? Because they're envious of Krishna. As I said, the original sin. Wanting to imitate Krishna, that's the original sin. What does that mean, to want to imitate Krishna? Well, we will learn in chapter 5. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mang shantam richati. Being God means I am the proprietor of everything I see. I am the enjoyer, and life is meant simply for my enjoyment at all others' expense, like great demons, Ravana and modern demons. They think everyone is disposable, everyone is for their sense gratification. And then the third concept, that I am the cynosure, that I am the center of attention, that I am everyone's best friend. Everything should revolve around me. These three psychic sentiments means I want to be God. And it's out of envy, because Krishna already is God. No applications being accepted. We should accept our position as eternal servants of God, because that is how we were, I'm not going to use the word created, but that's why we were manifested. This question occurs when we get to Vedanta philosophy. The question occurs, why do I even exist? And Prabhupada gives that answer. Krishna wanted to expand his pleasure. Just like all of you who have children. You had children because you wanted to share your love, your wealth, your knowledge. You wanted to share it with others. So you created a family. So Krishna, how does Krishna enjoy? Krishna enjoys by exchanging loving relationship with his parts and parcels. Just like mothers and fathers, they enjoy when they can have a nice relationship with their children. So in the same way, we exist. We're all children of Krishna. We belong to Achyuta Gotra. In the spiritual path, when you become initiated, You become part of Achyuta Gotra. You Indian people, all of you probably know your family Gotra. But on the spiritual platform, we are all Achyuta Gotra. We're all children of the infallible Krishna. So we exist to share love. Krishna wants to reciprocate loving relationships with all of his parts and parcels, his separated expansions. Yes, the technical term, Vibhina Angsha. From one angle of vision in Vedanta, we are expansions of God, but we are the tiny, infinitesimal expansions of God. Not like Vishnu Narayan. Vishnu Narayan is called Svangsha, personal expansions, but we are the Vibhina Angsha, infinitesimal, little. So if somebody says, I am God, yes, you're a little God. You're not the big God like Krishna or Vishnu. You're God, but you're poquito pequeño God, infinitesimal. So why do we exist? To exchange love. Just like my good friends, Bakshani family, they have their nice son. So they have that nice son in order to exchange loving sentiments. And that is why they work hard all these years, just to have some loving reciprocation. Krishna manifested us. Again, I'm not saying created, because we learned in chapter 2, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you nor all these kings. I emphasized at that time that we always existed. We learned that in chapter 2. As I do this Bhagavad-gita, I will remind you of what you should be remembering. Okay, let's continue. Sadrishang chestate svasya prakritir gyanavan api praktikting yanti bhutani nigraha king karishyati. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? So this is referring to one's material nature. We all have a particular material personality or nature. So Arjuna's nature, he was naturally a warrior, a kshatriya, actually Rajarshi, saintly king. That was his nature. But in the beginning of Bhagavad-gita, he wanted to take sannyas. So Krishna was saying, that's silly. You have a nature. What does Bhagavad-gita teach us? You don't deny your nature. In the Buddhist philosophy, their whole philosophy is deny your nature. Kill all sense of ego. That's not feasible. You have a nature, but how should it be utilized? Bhagavad-gita is saying, use your nature to serve Krishna. For instance, take me for example. By nature, I like to entertain. I like to speak. I like music. It's my nature. Throughout my whole life, that's always what I wanted to do. I always wanted to entertain, perform. I always wanted to do music. I love to eat. So that's my nature. I've acquired that nature throughout millions of lifetimes. So Krishna conscious Bhagavad-gita teaches, use your nature to serve Krishna. So instead of singing in nightclubs, I speak and sing in the satsang. You may be by nature an artist. So you see the picture behind me. That artist had that proclivity. That was his nature, which he or she developed over thousands of lifetimes. So instead of painting naked pictures or other pictures, the artist was using the proclivity to paint Krishna, paint pictures from Bhagavatam. Say you're a businessman, if that's your nature, right? So Sindhi people, their nature is to work and make money. That's their nature. So use that nature to serve Krishna. Whatever nature you have, use it to serve Krishna. That is the art of Krishna consciousness. Not deny it, but utilize it to serve Krishna. Therefore, guidance is given by the spiritual master. The spiritual master guides the disciple how to utilize their, as it says here, nature which you have acquired from the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Not repress it, utilize it. Next verse. Indriyasyendriyasyarte ragadvesha vyavastitau tayorna vasham agachet tauhiyasya paripantanau. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. But one should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So the goal of Bhagavad-gita is to become self-realized. What does that mean? To understand what is your eternal relationship with Krishna. That's another concept of Vedanta. Each and every one of us has a unique relationship of service to Krishna. But right now we have forgotten that. We don't know what we are meant to do for eternity in the spiritual world. So self-realization means by following the principles of Bhagavad-gita, at the perfectional stage, it is revealed to you. This is your eternal relationship of service to Krishna, either as a passive worshiper, or as a direct servant, or as a friend, as a parent, or as a lover. Yes, you will have one of these 5 relationships with Krishna eternally. Think about it. Ask yourself, once I go back to the kingdom of God, what would I like to do forever? Me? I want to sing for Krishna, dance for Krishna, eat with Krishna, like that. So as we go through Bhagavad-gita, and as you go through your spiritual advancement, little by little it will become apparent to you what you want to do with Krishna forever. Think about that. So here this verse is saying, don't get stumbled on this path. The path is called the path of liberation. Apavarga Vartmani. Pavarga means material existence, but Apavarga means the path of liberation. Bhagavad-gita is Apavarga Vartmani, the path of liberation. Next verse. Shreyans Svadharmo Viguna Paradharmat Svanushtitat Svadharme Nidhanang Sreya Paradharmo Bhayavaha. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's duty is better than engaging in another's duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous. So Krishna's whole point of speaking Bhagavad-gita, which he will reiterate throughout Bhagavad-gita, Krishna simply wants Arjuna to fight the battle. It is his nature to be a warrior, to be a protector, to be an upholder of dharma, religion. That's his nature. So Krishna telling him, yes, do your prescribed, that's your prescribed duty. We all have prescribed duties. My prescribed duty, preach Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada initiated me. Prabhupada gave me Brahminical initiation. So I have duties to perform. I have to execute my life according to those duties. Yes, I will make mistakes. That's all right. Better to stick with my own prescribed duties as a Brahmana than to imitate somebody else. No. So Krishna's point here is to Arjuna, as he mentioned already in chapter 2, you fight this war, it's a win-win. If you fight and you win the battle, you will rule the earth, sovereignty. Or if you die in the battle, what are you worried about? You're going to go to heaven and enjoy nicely for thousands of years. What is the loss? All Arjuna has to do is execute his prescribed duty. So we all have prescribed duties. Do your prescribed duties, but do it for Krishna. So now we come to the last section of this 3rd chapter. Let me take some nice, I'm drinking cranberry juice for health. So give me a second. See, I don't know if you can, it's dark red cranberry juice. Good for the kidneys. So, this final section, verses 36 to 43, the subject matter is lust. This is an important concept, has to be understood perfectly. So Arjuna now has a question. Arjuna uvacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anicchan api varshneya balad eva nayojata. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So this is an interesting question of Arjuna. He has noticed it, that sometimes we do things as if being forced to do so by some invisible force. Like sometimes the Christian people give the excuse, oh, the devil made me do it. That's their twist on this. So sometimes that happens, that we do the wrong thing as if impelled by some foreign, unseen influence. So let's see what Krishna is going to say to Arjuna. Actually, Krishna is going to say many things about this. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajaguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapatma Vidyenam Hiyavairinam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with material mode of passion, and which is later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. So what is lust? Normally people think lust means sex. That's only one aspect of lust. Elsewhere in Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada defines lust as the desire to enjoy this material world to its fullest extent. That is lust. The desire to enjoy the material world to its fullest extent. Right now, in my recordings, I mentioned, I think, I am recording Valmiki Ramayana. So the more I hear and see Ravana, the more I am understanding what it means, this lust. Because there is a statement that Ravana is considered to be lust personified, because it was his lust for Sita that did him in. And I'm reading in the Ramayana, I'm at the Yuddha Kanda, the battle has begun. And throughout, different advisors of Ravana have told him, give up this attachment to Sita. You are going to lose everything. What I read just before we had class today, Ravana's grandfather on his wife's side, he also advised Ravana that you are going to lose everything. You should give up, return Sita to Ram. But of course, Ravana was too much absorbed in trying to satisfy his lusty desire. And repeatedly throughout this Ramayana, whenever Vibhishan also warned his brother, you should return Sita to Ram. But every time someone tries to tell Ravana to give up Sita, what is Ravana's response? I will never give up Sita. That's lust. His desire to enjoy is so strong that even at the expense, and it will be seen, all of his sons were killed. He lost everything. Lanka was destroyed. Ravana, his own self, was destroyed. Why? Because of lust. He couldn't give up his lusty desire to enjoy Sita. And it wasn't even Sita. It was Maya Sita. It wasn't the real Sita. It was an illusory form of Sita. And he still couldn't give it up. So Krishna is saying lust, how does it happen? The mode of passion. But look what he says. Later transformed into wrath. Why? It will be revealed in the next verse. Here he just says, lust is going to later on be transformed into wrath. It's a science. It's a scientific law. Lust will eventually transform into wrath. So Krishna is saying, this is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. Prahlad Maharaj said the same thing to his father. Oh, my dear father, your only enemy is not anybody but your own lust and greed and uncontrolled senses. That's your real enemy, my dear father. So Krishna here is saying, lust later transforms into wrath. It's axiomatic. It has to happen. It has to happen. Let's see what Krishna says now. Dumain avriyate vanir, yatar darsho malenacha, yahol bain avrito garbhas, tatate nedam avritam. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of lust. So, fire covered by smoke. So, this is, you could say, the best case scenario. When there's fire, there has to be smoke. So everybody has some degree of lust because they have a material body. But a mirror covered by dust, oh, that's a greater display of lust. When the mirror is covered by the sort in the morning, if you take a hot shower, you cannot shave because the mirror is covered by steam and fog. You have to clean it before you can see. So a mirror covered by dust means that's too much lust. Or the ultimate embryo covered by the womb. Yes, the child is completely enveloped in the womb. So that's the greatest manifestation of lust. Depending on the material body, you are covered by different degrees of lust. The animals, the trees, that's maximum display. That's why they have those forms. Then in the human form, you're primarily in the mode of passion, so the mirror is covered by dust. And those in the higher realms, they also have lust, but it's slight, as the fire is covered by smoke. This Prabhupada mentions in the purport, a mirror covered by dust, what does that refer to? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Lord Chaitanya's first instruction in his Shikshastakam. The chanting process cleanses the mirror of the heart. People ask the question, well, if God's inside me, How come I can't see him? Yes. Why can't you see him? Because your heart is like a mirror and it's covered by dust. When the mirror is clean, then you can see your reflection. So the soul, you, the real you, not the one you see in the mirror in the morning, the real you lies in the heart. And Krishna is also there in the heart. But we cannot see him because our heart, our mirror of the mind, is covered by dust. So what does the chanting do? It cleanses the dust gradually. Now we have to understand, we have been in material existence for millions of lifetimes. So we have layers and layers and layers of material contamination. But if we go on chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting, gradually we become purified, and one day you will actually see Krishna in your heart, and you'll see yourself as well. That's self-realization. You will see Krishna and you will see yourself. That's why we chant every day. Sometimes people ask, Prabhu, I have been chanting for 30, 40 years. How much longer do I have to chant? Until you see Krishna in the heart, keep on chanting. You still have cleansing to do. Those of you who know about the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the day before Ratha Yatra, they do the cleansing of the Gunditja temple, because the Gunditja temple is where Jagannath will wind up and stay for 8 or so days. So Lord Chaitanya used to cleanse that Gunditja temple to make it clean and nice for Jagannath's arrival. And Lord Chaitanya cleansed the temple twice, meaning we have to continue to hear and chant until all the contamination, all the lust is gone from the heart. Then Krishna can sit there nicely on the throne of the heart and you can see. So everyone has different degrees of lust. Next verse. Avritang jnanam etena jnanino nitya vairina kama rupena kaunteya dushparain analena cha. Here is a big verse. Thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by the eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So here is the science. Krishna is giving you the science. Lust can never be satiated. Why? It burns like fire. You want more and more. So the more you give into satisfying lusty desires, it's like pouring ghee. You've been to the fire sacrifice. Swaha. And you throw the grains and ghee into the fire, and the fire expands. Just like here in Los Angeles, every year I recite the Bhagavad-gita, 700 shlokas, and we do the Bhagavad-gita yajna. So for each verse, we chant each verse and then we offer oblations 700 times. Takes about 4 hours to do Bhagavad-gita yajna. So that's what's happening. Every time we try to satisfy lust, it's like pouring ghee and grains into the fire. It increases. There's no end to it. So that's why it has to end in frustration. There's never a point of satiation. More. And we see this. People have $1 billion. Are they satisfied? No. I have to have 2. And when he gets 2, no. I have to have 3. There's no end. It keeps going and going and going. You would think, ask yourself, if you had $1 billion, would you be satisfied? Probably you would, because you are devotees. But a non-devotee has no concept of this lust. He just thinks this is what life is all about. Let me have more and more and more and more. But at the time of death, can you take any of your billions with you? Can't. You have to leave it all goodbye. When Yamaraj comes, you cannot say, hey, Yamaraj, I'll give you stock options. I'll give you, how much you want? Yamaraj, I'll give you. Yamaraj is not interested. You come with me now, rascal. You're coming to my court. So, lust is never, and it says here, burns like fire. Why? Because you're looking for satisfaction, but you don't get it when you try to satisfy your lust. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadishtanam uchyate. Etayar vimohayat yesha jnanam avritya dehinam. The senses, so what are the senses? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Jnana indriya, the knowledge acquiring senses. Those are the senses Krishna is referring to. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Knowledge acquiring senses. The senses, the mind, look where I'm showing. I went through this before. The mind, not this, that's the brain. That's the computer screen. Here is the hard drive, right here in the heart. That's the mind. The intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. So now we know where the enemy is. Where is lust hiding? In my senses. I want 2 glubjmans, no 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stomach ache. Right? So the senses, the mind, the intelligence, these are the sitting places of lust. This is where the enemy is hiding. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders one. Yes, what is my real knowledge? What is this real knowledge Krishna is referring to? I am spirit soul. I am servant of Krishna. When one acts under that, there's no lust. Lust means I'm trying to enjoy my bodily senses. But when you're free from lust, this is how you act. I am Krishna's servant. Let me act accordingly. Next verse. Tasmat tvam indriyanya dao niyamya bharatarshava papmanang prajahiyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, we're coming to a conclusion. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin known as lust. So we're not meant to indulge. We are meant to curb it. How? By regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So you have 2 choices. Try to satisfy your lusty desires, meaning enjoy your material senses, or pursue the path of liberation and self-realization. At every moment you have that choice. Do I want to indulge, or do I want liberation, self-realization? So regulate the senses. What does that mean? Eating. Let's take eating. We don't eat just any old damn thing. We first of all eat what is offerable to Krishna. In Bhagavad-gita, towards the end, Krishna will point out what kinds of food can be offered to him. This question is often raised. Well, why don't Krishna eat meat? I'll offer Krishna meat. No. Krishna doesn't want to eat meat. He has a higher taste. Krishna doesn't want to eat meat. If Krishna said eat meat, we would be the biggest meat eaters. But Krishna doesn't say that. Krishna says, I want food in the mode of goodness. This will be explained. Chapter 17. Foods in the mode of goodness. So that's how we regulate the, and not just vegetarian. It has to be offered to Krishna. Monkeys are also vegetarian, but that doesn't make them self-realized unless they're Hanuman's monkey army. But just being vegetarian is not enough. Or now the new thing, vegan. Oh, I'm very proud, I am vegan. That's a new status symbol here in America. I am vegan. Ah, you vegetarians, I am vegan. No, has to be offered to Krishna. And Krishna is not a vegan, by the way. Krishna likes his milk. On Janmashtami day, one lady, Indian lady, wrote me, Prabhu, what does Krishna like to eat at best? I said, of course, milk products. What's his name? Gopal, Govinda. Krishna's favorite food is milk products. What is he stealing in Vrindavan? Milk and butter and yogurt. He's not vegan. Krishna likes milk, and Krishna's devotees will offer Krishna what he likes. Of course, moderation. Of course. But we eat food first offered to Krishna. Regulate the senses. Text 42. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya parang manastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. So here is some more Sankhya, some more facts of life. The working senses, we all have our senses, they are superior to dull matter. But mind is higher than the senses, meaning the mind should be used to control the senses. Not that the senses run wild like wild horses. No, the reins of the horse, you control the horse by pulling back on the reins. So the mind is the reins of the chariot. The horses, the senses want to run wild, but we have to pull, restrain them, control them. Only let them go as what is necessary. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. I explained this several times. Intelligence means discrimination. The mind is simply doing two things, accepting and rejecting. I like this, I don't like this. But the intelligence is a higher dimension of the subtle body, and it discriminates. That yes, my senses may not like something, but I'm going to do it. For instance, when I was a young child, whenever I would get sick, my mother would call the doctor would make a house call, and every time, his name was Dr. Millett, he'd always come and give my mother a bottle of brown medicine. And that medicine was the nastiest, ugliest, foul tasting. To me, it was like, ah. So my senses were telling me, I don't want that. Doesn't taste good. My mind was saying, no, no, no. But my mother didn't listen to me. She had intelligence. No, Nikki, you have to take your medicine. Otherwise you won't get better. So she had to force it. Ah, that nasty. Ah. That's intelligence. You may not want to do something because your senses and mind are saying one thing. But intelligence means no. I have to take my medicine even though my senses are saying no. Same way with chanting. One day you may wake up, I don't feel like chanting. That's the mind may do that. I don't feel like it. No. Intelligence says, you like it or don't like it, you do your chanting. And then the soul is higher even than the intelligence. Because the intelligence is still material, the soul is spiritual. Final verse. Evang buddhe parang buddva sangstabhyat manam atmana jahi shatrung mahabaho kama rupa durasadam. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence in Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So this is the conclusion of this third chapter. First of all, know, be convinced that you are spirit soul, transcendental to your mind and senses. Okay? That's the first thing. At least philosophically accept that you're not the body, you're not the mind and senses, that you are spirit soul and you are transcendental. Now, steady the mind. How? By deliberate spiritual intelligence in Krishna consciousness, meaning by Krishna's teachings in Bhagavad-gita and by your spiritual master. Thus you will have spiritual strength. You get spiritual strength by worshiping your guru. That's why Prabhupada instituted as a daily function the Guru Puja. Prabhupada did not institute the Guru Puja because he wanted everybody to worship him. That's not why he instituted it. No, Prabhupada knows the science. He knows that the disciples will get spiritual strength by worshiping their spiritual master. That's why he instituted as the founder Acharya, so that the disciples and grand disciples will become spiritually strong by worshiping this. That's the science. Conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. We are meant to conquer, not give in. So now we will sing the prayers to Lord Nrsimha for the protection of all the devotees in Cologne. The coronavirus is still there, so we have to constantly pray for protection. So I'm singing this for your protection, because I am your ever well-wisher, although I'm thousands of miles away. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashipura Vaksha Shilatankana Kalae Nrsimha, Parato Nrsimha Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsimha Bahir Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha Nrsimham Madim Sharanam Prapadye Nrsimham Madim Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadvita Narahadi Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadvita Naradi Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha, Hare, Jaya Jagadisha, Hare, Jaya Jagadish, Jaya Jagadish, Jaya Jagadisha, Hare, Jaya Jagadisha, Hare, Jaya Jagadisha, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare